Okay, so in our previous tutorial, we started setting up the collisions, the collision external event for our kingdom rooms. I'm going to open this up, and I want to remind you that the only way that the kingdom room is going to be able to tell, or this kingdom room external event, collision event, is going to be able to tell what room we're in is when you pass it the current room global value that we get from the actual doorway in the kingdom. So you want to start your previews from the kingdom here, so that when it hits this doorway here, it'll say the current room is 1. Okay, so there it is. We've got our collisions going. All right. Okay, good. But this is pretty boring. There's no interactions here going on. So let's start setting up some interactions, and I think the first one we're going to set up is this, the doorway. We want to make it so that when he hits the doorway here, he'll go pop out back in the kingdom in front of the door he just left. He just came out of. So let's go to our kingdom room collisions, and let's add another sub group here. Let's add a sub event. We can move it, we can leave it down here, that's fine. And let's add a group, and let's move this group over where the other ones are, right there, lined up. And let's call this one the doorway. And now we can move this sub-event underneath our doorway. Do that, there we go. And we're going to say that when it's in collision, when Bob is in collision with the doorway, there it is, we want to do a couple of things. We want to change the global position of Bob, the Bob X and Bob Y, so that we know where to place him in the next scene, and then we want to change the scene to back to the kingdom here. But we want to tell the program what coordinates to use both for now and the future. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say when Bob is in collision with the doorway, and then we're going to create a sub-condition to this. And we're going to say the variable, global variable of the current room is equal to 1, right? Or we could be consistent here and say start with 0 first. And let's add another sub-condition here, because we're not dealing with Bob's room right now. 0 is Bob's room. Let's copy, paste, and let's say if it's equal to 1, we want to do the following. We want to change Bob's position. We don't know what that position is just yet. We'll get that in a second. But we need to go to variable, global variable. Bob position X is going to be equal to something. Let's just zero this out for a second. And we're going to do the same thing for Bob position Y. So let's paste that in and change this to Y. There it is. And then we know we're going to change the scene. We're not going to pause, we're going to change the scene, which I believe pause tries to keep the previous scene in memory. We don't need to do that. Our global variables are going to do that for the most part. So we're going to change it back to, in quotes, the kingdom. Okay, and let's get Bob's positioning for the room here. So let's go to our kingdom, and we're going to cheat. We are going to cheat a little bit here. We could do the math and make this like a global variable and say plus, 64 pixels, put them out here, but why, why bother doing that? There's no reason to. Let's just get the coordinates from Bob himself. So where's Bob right now? 760 lines up pretty nice with the X. Let's give him a little more room here so that he's not touching the door. Let's say it's 760x, y 200. Let's go down a little bit to 200. Let's go back to our Kingdom Room Collisions external event, and let's change this. So the X position, we want it to be, we want it to be 760, and we want the Y position to be 200. Now let's test this out. And again, we have to start in the kingdom, remember, to set our current value, current room value. Okay, let's pop out now. There we are. All right, so that's set up nicely. What else do we want to do? Let's also set up in our Kingdom Room Collisions. Well, let's fix something up here. We're going to set up an interaction with our desk. But I was thinking about this code, and I think we could optimize it a little bit here. So let's do this. Let's set up another grouping here for under basic collisions with interactions. And I'm going to drag this one out here. Good. And I'm going to put it underneath door, and we're going to call this one hide dialog. And let's add an event to hide dialog. And basically what we're going to say here is we're going to put all this in one condition and use the and. And you'll see the and tries to tell you what it means here. It says if all of these conditions are true, and those conditions are going to be that Bob is not in collision with the chest. Let's copy that. And we're going to get the desk here as well. If Bob is not in collision with the desk, okay, then we want to hide the dialog layer. And that way we can get rid of these. We don't need these. We would just need to add, if we add another object here, we would just need to add it to our dialog here, little external event. But let's see if that still works. Let's do a quick check. Okay, good. It's not there. We're still popping out. And let's add one quick interaction with our desks here. Whoops. There we go. And let's add another grouping here just to keep things together. Let's move this underneath in collision with desk and underneath there. So remember, this external event is going to handle basically all of our interactions in any room we're in. So we always need to supply what room we're in. So let's call this one room 1. It's going to handle our interactions in room 1, and we're going to say if Bob is in collision with the desk, do this, but also check for this. Let's do and all the following are true as well. We're going to say and our current room, which is our variable. Let's go all the way to the bottom here. Current room is equal to 1. We'll just code 1 for right now. We won't worry about Bob's room. And we want to check to see if the dialog layer is visible or not. We want to say that if it's not visible. And the last one is if we've hit the space key released. Remember, space key is what we're using to interact with our world here. So if all of this is true, we want you to change the text object's text of text dialog. And we're going to hard code this because we only want one interaction with this particular desk. We could make it a variable and change it up if we wanted to, but I don't see the point. And neighbor one is Jimmy's house, I believe, from the sign. So let's put in quotation marks. Looks like Jimmy is writing a novel. Let's quote Jimmy here. It was the best of times. It was the not so great of times. And let's make Sassy Bob here not impressed. Let's end our quotes. And then finally we want to show our layer. Show the dialog layer. Now this way we can, again, just copy and paste for each new room. Let's try this out. Hopefully that worked. Look at that. Okay, we're starting to interact now with our room.